Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Vancouver real estate prices just hit a new record. We're going to look at how we actually managed to get here even amidst interest rates where they're at. We're going to look at what's going to affect real estate prices moving forward through the year and into 2025. Real quick, before we get started, if this is your first time to the channel, my name is Hassan. I'm a real estate agent in the Vancouver area, and I make educational real estate content to help you on your real estate journey. When I'm not making videos like this, I'm helping people just like you buy and sell real estate across the Lower Mainland. So if that sounds interesting to you, you want to chat with me one-on-one, you can book me for a free call in the Calendly link below and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss a future video. All right, so we're gonna hop right into it, but before I get into exactly where real estate prices are at today across Greater Vancouver, I want to preface this by mentioning an article, a report actually that came out by the CMHC, where they talked about how in 2026 they're expecting Canadian real estate prices as a whole to set a new record. This report came out a couple months ago. It came out before the first interest rate cut by the Bank of Canada, which happened earlier this month. But they projected that in 2026, again, national home prices were going to set a new record. And the reasons for that were strong levels of immigration, lower housing starts, and of course, a decrease in the interest rate. What a lot of people don't realize or fail to realize is here in Greater Vancouver, we're such a different market ourselves and Toronto area as well. We've actually already hit record prices as of last month. And to think that we could be where we are at with interest rates where they are at, with supply where they are at, it's quite surprising to some. If we look at, average sale price, for instance, across all property types, we're looking at around 1.35 million in Greater Vancouver as of last month. And it's a touch over what we saw in peaks of the spring market in 2022. Now, sometimes it's a better idea to look at the median sale price. So when we're comparing median sale price to average, what the median does is it basically takes out any extremes on either end. Very high prices, very low prices. So for instance, if you have a given month and you're looking at condo prices and you're looking at average condo prices, and a downtown Vancouver luxury condo sold for $17 million, that's obviously going to pull that average up. So sometimes, and I think most of the time, median is the better metric to look at. But even if you look at median prices, around $1 million last month, which is touching spring market peaks again of February 2022. So here we are in Greater Vancouver. We have set new record prices. If you've been following my channel for a little bit, it's going to be very interesting to see where we go. I've mentioned that we are at a bit of an inflection point because we've had inventory increase. So we have more opportunities on the market for buyers that want to purchase properties that exist today. So we do have that coming, but we also just got some sort of signal from the US that it's very likely we see another interest rate decrease at next month's meeting. So inflation in the US has been coming down. They just got their inflation data. It's coming down more than expected. What we're seeing here in Canada is the bond yields are also coming down, and those relate to fixed rate mortgages. Typically fixed rates will then follow. So all signs are pointing towards another cut in July. Employment data came out. The unemployment rate across the country has increased as well. So all of these are kind of gearing towards another interest rate cut. I've said in the past, though, like interest rate cuts on their own are not going to heavily shift the market. And when we had our first one, would have been a week and a half ago or so now, when we had our first cut, I mentioned that, yes, it's going to bring some positive sentiment to the market. Buyers are going to re-enter. They're going to get more inquisitive, inquire more. I've noticed that in my world where my phone is ringing more frequently now from first-time buyers that want to start putting things into play. Now, if we do see another cut and we see fixed rates actually come down next month, I do think this is going to bring even more buyers into the market. They're going to start wading back in. Inventory is there, definitely on the condo side of the equation. There's more inventory as well. So this is where we're going to see that inflection point. And what exactly is going to happen? Because I strongly believe that demand is going to pick up, maybe not in the middle of summer here, but definitely by September. We're going to see rates come down a little bit further. It's going to be more favorable conditions for buyers. And so when you look at it and we're already sitting at record prices, there's two ways you're going to go, or I guess three. You're going to plateau for a little bit, or prices are going to come down, and I could see that happening in the condo segment at the higher price bands. Not at the entry level prices. I think those are going to continue to move upwards, and not in the townhome or the detached home space. All right, so let's look at some of the factors outside of the interest rate that are going to affect the Vancouver real estate market moving forward. We'll start with immigration, because immigration is a touchy point for a lot of people, especially over the last year and a half to 2 years. Many people, blame the housing crisis we're in on immigration. And so, there has been some immigration reform over the last little bit, in the sense that the federal government now putting caps on temporary foreign workers, and trying to shrink the number of immigrants coming to the country. We were expected to welcome 500,000 this year. That may tweak downwards because of those caps. But, one thing we have to keep in mind with these, what the purpose is behind federal immigration is, here in Canada and likely in other countries, I don't study it there, but here in Canada, we have an aging boomer population that is retiring. And at the end of the day, whether we like it or not, here in Canada, we're not having the babies. We're not having the kids that are going to grow up, that are going to move into skilled labor positions, that are going to take over for that baby boomer generation. We're looking at family sizes that were probably 5, 6, 7 children. I don't know. If you look at your parents, or perhaps, your grandparents, they tended to have large families. And outside of obviously having the warmth of a large family, this created workers to be able to build and grow the country. People aren't having kids anymore. And so as much as we want to battle immigration, you're going to see the federal government kind of talking out of both sides of their mouth a little bit when it comes to immigration, because they realize that, they can't close the door. They need to be more selective over the type of skilled labor or the type of workers that they're going to allow into the country. But if you think they're going to close the tap and basically cause the economy it's already stagnating, right? So not have enough workers to fill these skilled positions in construction, medical. I don't need to get into what our medical situation, the doctor shortage situation is in BC, parts of Canada as well. So if you think they're going to close this door, they're not. They've opened up a new PR program, a permanent residency program for caregivers, offering them permanent residency as soon as they arrive here. They have an updated program for digital nomads, where they're going to give digital nomads 6 months visas and encourage them to become permanent residents. So at the end of the day, immigration is not going anywhere. They're going to shift things a little bit in terms of, okay, how do we get the type of workers and the labor workforce that we need to be able to, well, number one, build the houses. And that's the next thing we should talk about, is supply of houses long term. So there's two things we look at, right? When we look at what's happening today in today's market, we're looking at short-term supply, what's active on the market right now. And that number, yes, is growing. But, with real estate, it's always a long-term thing. And we got to look at, where housing starts headed moving forward. We're already expecting a decrease of housing starts in 2024, likely less housing starts the following year as well. Last year, across the major metropolitan areas across Canada, I think we built around 180,000 homes. I mentioned that 500,000 number of immigrants that we're expecting to bring into the country. Even if that's tweaked down a little bit, our population grew over the last 12 months about 1 million people. So you can see the math is not mathing, right? And so with these housing starts as well, spoken about it on my channel, a heavier shift towards rental housing. There's going to be less stratified properties being built. Overall, more and more developers are struggling to secure the financing for stratified properties for sale. So when we talk about inventory levels, especially if you're a first-time buyer, a window has opened up here, in my opinion. I think if you're a first-time buyer, you should not be wanting to buy for something that you can purchase today and sell in the next 3 years, right? Typically, you want to buy a property, you want to live in it for 5 to 7 years, and then move on to another property, maybe rent this one out, decide what to do with it. And what I've learned in my 8 years in real estate, and I haven't always done this, in fact, I've rarely done this, is you have to look for the pockets of time where real estate plateaus in the Greater Vancouver area. You have to look for the plateaus. What I've always done in the past is I get excited too. And so when markets are hot and they're in a frenzy, I want to buy at that time. And looking back at the moves that I have made, the best thing I could have done for myself is to await a time where prices plateau, where there's not as much competition happening, knowing that I'm going to purchase this real estate for a longer period of time. So sometimes when you look at a short-term picture like today, where there's, again, a lot of condo inventory on the market, a lot of options, we're seeing rates coming down. For me, this is a window of opportunity for a long-term buyer to get in and to not compete. And then over the next couple of years, watch and see how the rates come down and what that might do for the market. So circling back, we talked about immigration, where that's expected to go, housing start decline. On average, it takes 24 months to finish a construction project, start to finish, and that's taking an average, obviously, of single-family homes, multi-unit construction. The shift is towards multi-unit construction. So even if we were to magically be able to approve all of these homes, and I don't need to get into how certain municipalities around the Lower Mainland are kiboshing the multiplex plan because they don't want density into their cities. So all of these delays puts us further and further behind the long-term supply 8-ball. Long-term supply, I'm generally very positive on this channel. We are in a very, very tough spot for long-term supply. And if you look at it from the federal government standpoint, they even came out and said that real estate prices, we need them to be high. We can't have them go down because so many people are going to rely on them for retirement. Justin Trudeau came out and said this. And, a lot of the different levels of governments, they too rely on real estate prices being high and continuing to grow. Right? If we look at the provincial government, they get property transfer tax each time a property is sold, and that's based on a percentage of that property price. So they don't want their revenues to go down. You have, municipalities now that they don't have as many options to actually, charge these whimsical fees on developers, these amenity charges to developers. So if you don't think they're going to try and recoup their revenue in other ways towards those developers, which are just going to add on to the real estate prices overall, development costs are going up. That gets plugged into the pro forma of a developer. That gets pushed onto the purchaser, onto the buyer. So ultimately, everything, if you look at where everything is pointing in this market right now, it's pointing to increased cost. It's pointing to increased demand. It's pointing to lower supply and lower labor to be able to build the supply. And I wasn't a mathematician, I never have been, but I can look at simple things like that. So for me, when I hear the CMHC report saying in 2026, we're expecting new record prices, I cannot see a path where that does not happen. And again, here in Vancouver, amidst all of the down market scenario we've been in since 2022, all of the interest rate increases, and yet here we are, Greater Vancouver, hit record prices in real estate last month. So there you have it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this week's video. I hope you learned something. If you did, hit the like button, because what that does is it takes the video and it sends it out to more people so they can also learn from it. And if you enjoy weekly real estate content, subscribe to this channel so you don't miss next week's video. And lastly, again, if you're in the Vancouver area, Fraser Valley, you want to chat about your real estate situation with me, one-on-one, you can book me for a free call, or just send me a text, give me a call, shoot me an email, whatever's easiest for you. But I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to watch this video, and I look forward to seeing you next week.